Alex had been stuck on this barren planet for 3 days now. His ship, a small exploration vessel, had been struck by a meteor shower, and all his attempts to fix it had failed. The tools were inadequate, and the parts he needed were nowhere to be found. He had considered abandoning the ship, but it was his only chance of getting back to civilization. He had hoped the planet's small, isolated settlement would have what he needed, but it had been a dead end. Just when he thought things couldn't get worse, a figure appeared on the horizon. A woman, mistakably alien. She moved gracefully across the rocky landscape, her long, flowing cloak contrasting sharply with the dusty terrain. Alex's heart raced as she drew nearer. She had an aura of confidence, a calm and collected demeanor, like she belonged here, like this planet was her home. Her alien features were striking her skin, a pale bluish hue, shimmered in the light of the twin suns above. Her eyes, large and slightly slanted, seemed to see right through him. The curve of her face was gentle yet strong, and she wore a suit that looked much more advanced than anything Alex had ever seen. The suit was sleek, metallic, and covered every inch of her body, with intricate designs etched into it. "Hello," Alex called out. Cautiously stepping toward her, she stopped in her tracks, her eyes locking with his. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, without a word, she raised a hand in a slow, deliberate motion. The air around them hummed softly, and the next thing Alex knew, she was standing right in front of him, her face mere inches away. "I am Alara," she said in a voice that sounded both alien and familiar. "I'm here to help you." Alex blinked, processing her words. He had no idea who she was or how she had found him. One thing was clear: she was not from Earth. Her presence was both unsettling and strangely comforting. "Help," Alex repeated, unsure of what she meant. She nodded, glancing over at his ship. "Your vessel is damaged. I can fix it." Alex's eyes widened. "You can fix it? How?" She smiled faintly, her gaze moving from him to the wreckage. "I have skills you do not understand. I can repair your ship, if you allow me." The offer seemed almost too good to be true. Alex had tried everything, but the technology he had wasn't nearly as advanced as hers. Still, something about her confidence made him hesitate. She was offering help, but was there a catch? "Why help me?" he asked, his voice low. Alara didn't immediately answer. Instead, she stepped toward the ship, running a hand over the damaged hull. She seemed to assess it, calculating, as if she could see its inner workings just by touch. Her movements were graceful, efficient, as if she had done this countless times before. "I have no interest in your world," she said finally, her voice softer now. "But I need to complete my mission. Helping you is a small part of it." Alex was intrigued. Mission? What kind of mission? But Alara did not answer. Simply turned and began to work, pulling out small, advanced tools from her belt. They looked like nothing Alex had ever seen before, sleek silver and humming with quiet energy. He watched in awe as she worked with precision, quickly repairing the ship's engine with little more than a few adjustments and some quick movements. For a moment, Alex stood there, unsure of what to do. Was he really trusting this stranger, this alien, to fix his ship? But when he saw how effortlessly she worked, he realized he had no other choice. "So what happens now?" Alex asked, trying to keep the conversation going, though his mind was elsewhere, still processing everything. Alara didn't look up as she spoke. Now, we wait. The parts I need will arrive soon. Until then, I'll finish my task. Alex nodded, but his mind raced. There was something different about Alara. She wasn't just a mechanic or a wanderer on this planet. She was someone with purpose, with knowledge that surpassed anything Alex had ever seen. But there was also an air of mystery about her. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to her presence here, something she wasn't telling him. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the rocky surface, Alex found himself growing more and more curious. Why had she chosen to help him? What was her true mission, and how did it relate to his broken-down ship? He couldn't help but feel that his encounter with Alara was no accident. He watched her for a while longer, still unsure of what to make of her, till she finally spoke again. "You're wondering why I'm here?" she said, her eyes meeting his for the first time since she began working. Alex stiffened. "Yeah, I guess I am." She paused for a moment, as if weighing her words. "I am here because I must be. It's not personal, but it is necessary." "Necessary for what?" Alex asked, his voice filled with an urgency he hadn't intended. Alara met his gaze again, and for the briefest moment, Alex thought he saw a flicker of something regret. Curiosity passed through her eyes. "You'll know soon enough," she said cryptically. Before turning back to the ship, Alex had so many questions, but before he could ask another, a soft beep echoed from her suit. She glanced down at the readout and then turned toward him. "The parts I need are here," she said, her tone shifting slightly. "I'll have your ship fixed in no time." With a deep breath, Alex nodded, deciding to trust her for now. He had no choice. Whatever her reasons were, he was now part of something much bigger than himself, and somehow he knew this was just the beginning of a strange and unexpected journey. Alex stood by his ship, watching Alara as she worked, her movements graceful and precise. The advanced tools she used seemed to be powered by something beyond human understanding. The way she worked with ease, as if the ship's broken pieces were a puzzle to be solved, left Alex both impressed and uneasy. It had been hours since Alara had started fixing his ship, but she had barely said a word since her cryptic response earlier. Alex couldn't help but wonder what kind of alien she really was. She had claimed to be on a mission, but to what end? Was it just to fix his ship, or was there something more to her arrival? He watched her closely as she adjusted a panel, her fingers moving quickly over the damaged wires. Her suit, sleek and reflective, seemed to shimmer slightly with every move. It was a far cry from the worn-out gear Alex was used to, and its technology seemed much more advanced. Alara didn't seem to notice him staring, or perhaps she didn't. "Kara, how do you know so much about ships like mine?" Alex finally asked, his voice breaking the silence that had settled between them. Alara paused, glancing at him over her shoulder. Her face was calm, but Alex could see something flicker in her eyes. For a moment, he thought she might ignore the question. But then she replied, her voice smooth and measured. "My people have studied many species, including yours. We know how your ships work. It was not difficult to understand the technology." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Your people? Who are you, really? What's your mission?" Alara's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't answer immediately. Instead, she continued working, her hands moving with practiced skill. Alex could tell she wasn't avoiding the question, she was simply choosing her words carefully. A few moments of silence, she finally spoke. "I am not like you. I am from a place far beyond your world. My mission is one of observation, of learning. I am tasked with studying different species and their progress." Alex felt his heart race. At her words, observing us. Why? For what purpose? Alara paused, and for the first time since they met. She turned fully toward him, her expression unreadable. "The universe is vast. Alex, my people have been watching for centuries. We study civilizations, their technologies, their behaviors. We need to understand which species pose a threat and which could be allies. Your species is ... unique." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "You've been watching us for centuries, and you just happened to show up here to help me fix my ship. Ilara's lips twitched slightly, as if she was amused by his skepticism. Not just your ship, Alex. You. Alex blinked, not sure he had heard her correctly. What do you mean, me? Ilara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she returned to the ship, making quick adjustments to a control panel. She was so focused that Alex was almost afraid to interrupt her, but his curiosity got the better of him. Why me? What's so special about me? Ilara looked up at him again, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made Alex's heart skip a beat. For a moment, saw a flicker of something deeper in her gaze, something almost ... human. It was as if she was weighing her options, deciding whether or not to reveal the truth. Because of what you represent, she said, her voice softer now. You're not just another human, Alex. You're different. There's something about you, something that your kind has yet to realize. You're a key figure in a much larger story. Alex's mind raced. A key figure? In what story? What was she talking about? Before he could ask another question, a soft beep interrupted their conversation. Ilara glanced down at a small device on her wrist, her expression shifting into one of concentration. She pressed a button, and the device projected a holographic map of the nearby area. Alex leaned in, trying to see what she was looking at. But the map seemed to show more than just the planet's surface. It extended into space, showing a series of coordinates and markings that made Alex's head spin. Ilara didn't seem surprised by his curiosity. She spoke as if she were answering a question he hadn't yet asked. These are the coordinates of your ship's location. It's not by chance that you're here. You were brought here intentionally. Alex took a step back, feeling the weight of her words. What do you mean? Who brought me here? Ilara hesitated, her fingers hovering over the holographic display. I can't explain everything. Not yet. But your arrival here was no accident. You're part of something much bigger, something that could change the fate of your species. Alex shook his head, trying to process what she was saying. This is ... crazy. You're telling me my crash landing here wasn't an accident? That someone ... or something brought me here? Laura looked at him, her face serious. Yes. Your ship was damaged intentionally, but not by anyone on this planet. Someone or something wants you here, and that's why I was sent. Alex felt a cold sweat start to form on the back of his neck. He had never believed in conspiracy theories, but this was starting to feel like one. And you? You were sent to help me fix my ship? Or to keep an eye on me? Lara sighed, as though the weight of her own thoughts was heavy. Both. I was sent to observe you, yes, but also to help you. What happens next, Alex, is up to you. You'll need to make a choice, one that will impact your future and the future of your species. Alex could hardly breathe, overwhelmed by the sheer weight of her words. What choice? What future? He was just a mechanic stranded on an alien planet. He had no idea what she was talking about, but one thing was clear. Ilara wasn't just a stranger, trying to fix his ship. She was a part of something much larger, something that could change everything. Ilara returned to her work, but the tension between them was palpable. Alex watched her, his mind racing, but he couldn't help but feel that whatever lay ahead, it was beyond his control, and he was about to become a part of it. The next morning, the sun was high in the sky, casting its light over the barren landscape of the planet. Alex had barely slept, his mind racing with thoughts about Ilara and the strange things she had said. The idea that his crash wasn't an accident, that someone or something had wanted him here, felt impossible. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that nothing about this situation made sense. He stepped out of the ship, the air cooled against his skin. Ilara was already at work, her figure silhouetted against the backdrop of the ship. She was focused, moving quickly as she made the final adjustments to the engine. Despite her otherworldly appearance and mysterious mission, she had an undeniable competence. Watching her work, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. She wasn't just repairing his ship, she was transforming it, making it function again in ways he hadn't thought possible. He approached her slowly, still unsure about what to say. The questions he had been too afraid to ask before now burned. In his mind, demanding answers. Ilara, he began, his voice a little hesitant. You said I was a key figure in something larger. What does that mean? She didn't look up from her work as she replied, her voice calm. You'll understand. Soon enough? But for now, focus on what's happening here. Your ship is almost ready. Alex stepped closer, his curiosity getting the better of him. I don't understand. You said I was brought here for a reason, but you're not telling me everything. Alara paused for a moment, her fingers stilling on the ship's control panel. She looked up at him, her expression unreadable. I can't explain everything right now, Alex, she said quietly. But what I can tell you is that your presence here is no coincidence, and neither is mine. Alex frowned, still confused. But why help me? Why not just leave me to deal with my crash on my own? Alara turned to face him, her eyes serious. Because I have a purpose here, just as you do. You're part of something much bigger than either of us. Your species, your planet, it's not just a random place in the universe. There are forces at play that you don't yet understand. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. She spoke, with such certainty as if she knew something he didn't. But what could she know that he didn't? He was just a regular guy, a mechanic stranded on a strange planet. There was nothing special about him. Who are these forces? He asked, his voice tinged with urgency. And what do they want with me? Alara stepped away from the ship and walked toward him, her pace measured. She paused just a few feet away, as if considering his question carefully. You don't need to know everything yet, she said. But I'll tell you this, you're being watched, not just by me, but by others. And the choices you make in the coming days will shape the future of your species. Alex shook his head, still struggling to grasp her words. Watched. Who? Alara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked up at the sky, her eyes scanning the horizon as if searching for something. For a moment, Alex felt an uneasy sense of dread creeping up his spine. I wish I could explain more, Alara said finally, her voice soft. But there are things I can't reveal yet. I've already said too much. Just trust me, Alex. When the time is right, everything will fall into place. Alex stared at her, his mind spinning with unanswered questions. He didn't know whether to trust her or to keep his distance. She had been kind, helpful even, but something about her presence felt ... wrong. She wasn't like anyone he had ever met before, and the idea that his crash had been orchestrated by some unknown force left him feeling exposed. Vulnerable before he could say anything else, Alara turned back to the ship, resuming her work. Alex hesitated, then followed her, standing just a few feet away as she continued adjusting the panels and controls. It was clear that she was focused on finishing the repairs, but her silence only added to his unease. Then, without warning, Alara spoke again, her voice quiet but filled with intensity. It's time. Alex looked up at her, confused. Time. Time for what? Her eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw something more than just the calm exterior. There was something deep in her gaze, something he couldn't quite place. It's time for you to understand who I really am, she said. Before Alex could react, Alara reached up and began to unzip the suit she had been wearing. Wasn't a simple piece of clothing, it was a suit designed to hide her true form, to shield her from the environment. As she slowly unzipped it, Alex's heart raced. Aha! He hadn't expected this, hadn't thought about what might lie beneath. The suit peeled away, revealing the true nature of her being. Her skin, a pale, shimmering blue, glistened in the light. Her eyes, now more visible, were even larger than before, an intense shade of violet. Her features were unlike anything Alex had ever seen, otherworldly yet beautiful in their own way. She looked more alien than ever. There was something strangely captivating about her. Alex took a step back, his mind trying to catch up with what he was seeing. He had seen enough science fiction movies to know that aliens didn't look like this. She wasn't some monster or terrifying creature. She was ... different, but beautiful too. Alara stood still for a moment, her eyes studying him as if gauging his reaction. When she spoke again, her voice was soft but firm. You asked who I am, she said. I'm not just a mechanic. I'm an observer, a traveler from a distant place. My mission isn't just about fixing your ship, it's about understanding your people, your world. Alex's mind reeled. He had known there was more to her than met the eye, but he hadn't expected this. She was an alien, a being from another world, and now he knew that everything she had said about him and his ship was true. He had been brought here for a reason. Ilara reached up, slowly fastening her suit again, but her eyes never left Alex's. "You'll understand in time," she said. "For now, all you need to know is that your life is about to change. You're not just a mechanic anymore. You're part of something far bigger." As the suit closed once more, Alex stood frozen, unsure of what to say next. His world had just been turned upside down. The days that followed were filled with silence. Ilara worked tirelessly on the ship, making adjustments that Alex couldn't fully understand. She had been focused, almost distant at times, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her mission than she was letting on. As the ship's repairs neared completion, Alex found himself wrestling with the overwhelming sense of confusion that had taken over his mind. He had asked her so many questions, and each time Ilara had only given him vague answers. He had asked about her people, about why she had come to Earth, and most importantly, about the mysterious forces she had hinted at. No matter how much he pressed her, she only spoke in riddles, always reassuring him that the answers would come when the time was right. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Alex sat outside the ship, his legs stretched out in front of him as he watched the twin suns set on the horizon. The sky turned shades of orange and purple, and the cool breeze made him feel momentarily at peace. But even in this tranquil setting, his mind couldn't rest. Why had Ilara chosen to stay and help him? What was her true mission? And perhaps more importantly, what did it mean for him? As he sat there lost in thought, Ilara came to join him, her figure outlined by the fading light of the suns. She sat down beside him without a word, her presence as calm and enigmatic as ever. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the silence between them almost comfortable. "Why did you really come here?" Alex finally asked, his voice breaking the quiet. "I know you've said it's about your mission, but what is that really about?" Ilara turned to face him, her large violet eyes glowing softly in the dim light. There was something almost hypnotic about her gaze, something that made Alex feel both drawn to her and cautious at the same time. "I told you," she said quietly. "I came to observe, to learn, but I never expected to find." Her words hung in the air between them, and Alex felt a slight shift in the atmosphere. Something had changed in her voice, something he couldn't quite place. It wasn't just the matter-of-fact tone she usually had. This time, there was emotion behind it. Was she struggling with the mission she had been given? Or was there something more? What? Alex pressed, his curiosity getting the better of him. "What did you find?" Ilara paused for a long moment, her eyes searching his face as if trying to find the right words. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer than usual. "Connection," she said simply. "I didn't expect to form a bond with you, Alex. I thought I was here to observe, to stay detached, but ... She trailed off, looking away toward the horizon. "But you're different. You make me feel like I'm not just an observer, but a part of something real." Alex's heart skipped a beat. "You're saying you formed some kind of connection with me?" Ilara nodded slowly, her gaze returning to him. "Yes, I didn't expect it, but there's something about you, something about your species that resonates with me. You're capable of things I didn't think possible. Your strength, your will to survive, your ability to change, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Alex felt a surge of confusion and disbelief. He wasn't special. He was just a regular Gaia mechanic who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But as he looked at Ilara, he could see that she was being sincere. There was something in her eyes that told him she wasn't just saying this to make him feel better. She meant it. "So, you've decided to stay here because of me?" he asked, a mixture of disbelief and hope in his voice. "But ... why? What happens now?" Ilara's expression softened, and she reached out, her hand gently brushing his arm. The touch was electric, sending a strange warmth through his body. Her fingers lingered for just a moment, and Alex could feel his heart race. "I don't know," she admitted. I wasn't supposed to get involved with you. I wasn't supposed to care. But now I do. And I can't ignore it anymore. Alex's mind was spinning. This was insane. He'd spent his whole life working on engines and fixing things, never imagining he would be caught up in something like this. Yet here he was, sitting beside an alien who had just admitted that she felt a connection with him. The implications were huge, bigger than anything he could wrap his mind around. But as he sat there, staring into Alara's eyes, a part of him knew that he couldn't just walk away from this. He wasn't sure what would happen next, but he couldn't ignore the pull he felt toward her. There was something powerful between them, something undeniable. Does this mean you're not going back? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alara shook her head slowly. I don't know. My mission is important, Alex. But so are you, and I can't ignore that. Not anymore. Alex looked down at the ground, his thoughts racing. He didn't know what this meant for his future or for hers. But one thing was clear, he wasn't the same person he had been when he first crashed here. Something had changed. Lara had changed him, and now he had to figure out what it all meant. For the first time in days, Alex felt a sense of peace wash over him. It wasn't a peace that came from understanding everything. It was a peace that came from accepting that he didn't have to understand it all right now. He had Alara by his side, and together, they'd figure out what came next. We'll figure it out, he said quietly, meeting her gaze once more. Alara smiled, the softest smile he had ever seen. Yes, we will. And with that, the connection between them deepened, and Alex realized that no matter what came next, he wasn't alone anymore. The days that followed were filled with a quiet tension. Lara continued to work on the ship, finishing the repairs with the precision and ease that left Alex in awe. Beneath the surface, something had shifted. It wasn't just the ship that was being repaired, it was something deeper, something neither of them could ignore. The connection between Alex and Alara had grown stronger, and with it came an unspoken understanding that neither of them could fully grasp yet. Alex found himself torn between his growing feelings for Alara and the overwhelming uncertainty of what her mission meant. She had admitted that she wasn't supposed to form any kind of bond with him, that her mission was to observe, not to engage. But now it was clear that something had changed for both of them. One evening, as the two of them sat together outside the ship, Alex broke the silence. He had been wrestling with his thoughts for days, unsure of what to do next. Alara, he began, his voice steady but filled with uncertainty. You said that your mission is important, that it's about observation. But I don't know if I can just let you go back to whatever it is you came from. You've changed me. And I don't think I can go back to what my life was before. Lara turned to him, her violet eyes soft and understanding. She had been expecting this moment, the one where Alex would have to choose. She had known from the start that her mission would come with consequences, that there would be no simple answers. But the connection they shared, the bond that had grown between them, made it harder for her to stick to the rules she had been given. I know. Alex, she said softly, her voice filled with a quiet sadness. I never expected this either. I didn't expect to feel this way about you. But I also know that I can't ignore my mission. I was sent here for a reason, and that reason is bigger than the two of us. Alex's heart sank. He had known deep down that this day would come. Day when Alara would have to choose between her duty and her feelings. But hearing her say it out loud made it feel real, and it was more painful than he had anticipated. But why does it have to be this way? Alex asked, his voice laced with frustration. Why can't we just stay here, together? I don't understand why you have to go back. What's so important about your mission that you can't let yourself feel something for me? Alara looked away, her gaze distant. The weight of her responsibility pressed down on her, and she knew she had to make a choice. She had always known that her feelings for Alex were a distraction, something she couldn't afford to let interfere with her mission. But now, standing here with him, she felt torn in a way she hadn't expected. Alex, she said, her voice firm but gentle, my people have been watching yours for centuries. We've studied your planet, your species. We need to understand if humans are a threat or a potential ally. The information I gather here, it could change everything. My mission is bigger than just us. It's about the future of your entire world." Alex took a deep breath, trying to process her words. He understood the importance of what she was saying. He wasn't stupid. But it didn't make it any easier to accept. He'd never imagined that the woman he had grown so close to would be part of something so vast, something that didn't include him. "But you can't just leave," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "I need you here, Alara. I don't care about your mission. I care about you, and I can't do this alone. I thought we could have something, a life together." Ilara's eyes softened as she looked at him, her heart aching for the pain in his voice. She had never intended to hurt him, but she had known from the moment they met that this wouldn't be easy. Their worlds were too different, and the forces at play were too powerful to ignore. "I don't want to leave you, Alex," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But my mission is my duty. I can't ignore it. I have to return to my people, report what I've learned. I have to do this, for both of our worlds." Alex stood up, his hands trembling at his sides. "Then what happens to us? What happens to what we have?" Alara rose slowly to her feet, her face etched with sorrow. She wanted to reach out to him, to comfort him, but she knew that nothing she said would make this easier. The decision had already been made, and it was one she couldn't escape. "I don't know," she said quietly, "but I can't stay. I can't abandon my mission." For a long moment they stood there, the weight of their words hanging heavily in the air. Alex felt a lump form in his throat. He'd always known that their time together would be limited. But hearing Alara say the words out loud made it feel like everything was slipping away from him. Finally, Alara stepped forward, closing the distance between them. She reached out and took his hand in hers, her touch gentle but firm. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice filled with regret. "But this is something I have to do. I hope you can understand that." Alex looked at her, his heart heavy with the knowledge that their time together was coming to an end. He wanted to fight against it, to beg her to stay, but he knew that it wouldn't change anything. Her mission was her duty, and no matter how much he wanted her to stay, he couldn't force her to abandon it. "I understand," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "But I'll never forget you, Alara. I'll never forget what we shared." She smiled softly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'll never forget you either, Alex. You've changed me more than you'll ever know." With one last lingering look, Alara stepped back, releasing his hand. She turned toward the ship, the repairs now complete, ready for her departure. Alex stood there, watching her go, feeling the weight of her absence already settling in his chest. As Alara boarded the ship, Alex's heart ached with the knowledge that their time together had been fleeting. But in that fleeting moment, something had changed in him. He had learned that sometimes love meant letting go, no matter how hard it was. And as the ship's engines roared to life, Alex stood there, watching her disappear into the stars, knowing that he would never forget her. The ship's engines hummed softly, a low, steady sound that seemed to echo in Alex's chest as he stood alone, watching the fading silhouette of Elara's ship disappear into the starry sky. The weight of her departure hung heavily over him, and for a moment he felt like the world had shifted, leaving him behind in its wake. It was impossible to understand the full scope of everything that had happened, the connection they shared, the mission that had torn them apart, and the unknown forces that had played a part in their meeting. But now, as the quiet settled over the desolate planet, he felt the loss more deeply than ever. The ship was repaired. The task Alara had set out to complete, now finished. He had the tools, the knowledge, and the means to leave. But somehow leaving didn't feel like the right thing to do anymore. Alex walked slowly back toward the ship, his mind racing. He had spent so much time thinking about the things Alara had said, about the larger story she had hinted at. He knew that her people had been watching humanity for a long time, studying them to understand whether they were a threat or potential allies. But what about him? What about the life he had been living before Alara arrived? Was it possible that he had been a part of something bigger all along, even before he realized it? He reached the ship's entrance, his hand hovering over the control panel. The thought of leaving this place, of returning to Earth, filled him with a strange sense of uncertainty. What was he supposed to do now? Go back to his old life? Pretend that nothing had happened? But he couldn't just ignore everything that had changed. He couldn't forget about the bond he had shared with Alara, and he couldn't ignore the feelings that had grown inside him. The feelings that told him there was something more waiting for him, something beyond his old life. As he stood there, lost in thought, the door to the ship slid open, and Alex was startled to find Alara standing in the doorway, her figure framed by the soft light from inside the ship. "Alex," she said, her voice soft but filled with determination. "I couldn't leave like this." He froze, his heart racing. Had she come back? Did she change her mind? "I thought you had gone," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Alara stepped forward, her presence as strong and commanding as ever. But this time, there was something different in her eyes, a sense of resolve, of purpose. "I couldn't just leave," she repeated. "I know I told you that my mission was important, and it is. But I can't ignore the fact that ... there's something here, something real, something worth fighting for." Alex's heart skipped a beat. "ELARA ... She raised a hand, silencing him. "I was wrong to think I could just leave and forget about you. Forget about what we shared. I came here to observe, but what I've learned is that sometimes you can't just observe. Sometimes you have to take action. And what I'm asking now is for you to join me." Alex stared at her, confusion and hope swirling inside him. Join her? But how? She was a part of something so much bigger than him, and yet he had never felt more alive than when he was with her. He had already known in the deepest part of his heart that his life had changed the moment he met her. "Join you," he repeated, his voice uncertain. "But where would we go? What happens now? You said your people were watching us, studying us. What if they don't like the fact that you're here with me?" Alara's expression softened. "I don't know what will happen next. But I do know this. You're not just a mechanic, Alex. You're a part of something more. You always have been. Your Paplir planet. They are worth more than you realize. I can't let them face the unknown alone." Words hit him harder than he expected.
Hey!
He wasn't just a mechanic. He wasn't just a regular person, stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was something more inside him, something that had drawn Alara to him. And as she stood there, looking at him with those violet eyes, he realized that she was right. His life was part of something bigger, something that was just beginning to unfold. "You're asking me to leave everything behind," Alex said, his voice quiet but filled with a newfound determination. "To leave my home, my people." Alara nodded. "Yes, but only if you choose to. I can't make this decision for you. You have to decide, Alex. Whether you want to stay and live your life as you always have, or whether you want to step into something bigger, something that could change the course of your world. But I can't do this without you." Alex took a deep breath, the weight of her words sinking in. He had always thought of himself as just an ordinary man. But now, standing here with Alara, he realized that maybe he wasn't just ordinary after all. Maybe he was part of something much greater than he had ever imagined. "I'm not ready to leave Earth behind," Alex said slowly, his voice firm. "But I don't want to go back to my old life. Not now, not after everything I've learned. There's something bigger at play here, something that goes beyond what I've ever known." Alara stepped closer to him, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Then let's face it together." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of peace settle over him for the first time since he crashed on this strange planet. His future was uncertain, and the road ahead would be anything but easy. But one thing was clear. He wasn't alone anymore. He had Alara by his side, and together they would face whatever came next. Together. He agreed softly. With that, Alara extended her hand toward him, and Alex took it without hesitation. The path ahead was unknown, but for the first time, Alex felt ready to step into the unknown. Whatever the universe had in store for him, he knew that he wouldn't have to face it alone. And as the two of them stood together, looking out at the stars, Alex realized that his journey was just beginning.